men, women, lovers, haters, the clean, the users, the scared, the abusers, the leaders, the losers, the struggling, the strong, the confident, the timid. They say if you want to succeed today, if you want to be successful today, you have to find a niche. You have to corner yourself in this wide market of opportunities. I have no idea what the fuck my throat just did. Sounded like a frog. Excuse me, riveted in my throat. I can't do it. I can't create the fucking Hulk with glasses. I can't put myself in a corner. I can't be fucking brunch with Bobby. I can't do it. I want to talk about everything whenever I want to. One thing I'm always concerned about, and I've said it, I hope that one day if I'm not here, if my son ever wanted to know me more, that he'd be able to watch these videos. But in the same breath, I mentioned that there's so many different versions of us. There's so many different versions of us, and I know that in my heart I've been forever scared to let out the version of me that would be truest to my heart. And it's only for fear, honestly, of demonetization on a platform which I've never, at this point of recording, been monetized anyway. And I think that that's meant to be. I think it was meant to be that I'm supposed to learn and continue to learn and continue to grow and continue to see these things that I didn't see before and continue to get better. And I think that eventually I will get better at this and I will be successful at expressing my thoughts in a way that's true to who I am. My thought in my heart is like, I want to, spoiler alert, and let you know that I'm not going to come out as gay. But then I thought it might be worthwhile to have the suspense to keep you on the hook. But if anything derailed my thought pattern there, that was it. I remember Joe Rogan at one point saying, you should be aware of how people see you. And I understand that I fucking put more hair gel in my hair than anybody ever should. And that I spend more time with a blow dryer in a day than I talk to my mother in a year, for God's sakes. And I wish that was a joke. But I'm never going to be a political expert or a scientific. People are like, dude, we didn't think so, but thanks for clarifying. You know, I was going to say a scientific fucking, couldn't think of a good word because I just used expert. if you get the thesaurus expert for me, the response in the fucking highly, similar. That's what I'm going for. I'm not going to do it, and I don't care. And I hope that one day, without fear, realizing that again at this point, the demonetization is zero monetization anyway. So I literally have nothing to lose at what is honestly self-censorship, at a true expression of who I am. And it just seems silly. I mean, like as an example, religion. I need to find further so many more things about, like I found myself as a younger age, I wholeheartedly believed in religion. I even one time as I got sober, there was a period of time where I got sober and I fell back on religion really hard. And I had a boss that was like, it may leave you, I don't remember what he said, but the idea was it's not everything it's cracked up to be, and it may leave you still with questions, and it may leave you still wanting more. It may not be the answer for everything. And it's like I found myself wholeheartedly following that for so long, and then now I just find myself like, fuck me in the ass, Jesus Christ, so you could say my relationship with religion is evolving. But I remember my dad when I was younger, and as I've mentioned before, but I'm sad to mention, I was going to say I'm happy to mention again, but then I thought that that's not true, and I went for the opposite, but it sounds depressing if you say it that way. My dad, I think, was in prison until I was approximately 9, so from X amount of months to 9 years old, so he wasn't around for that period of time, but when he got out, he mentioned something that I can't fucking remember, because as I'm fucking giving you his X-Men origin story, I can't remember what the fuck I was trying to say. Oh, yeah. He gets out, right? And one of the things that he told me is, like, I saw Jesus when I was younger. I thought, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. In my heart, I conceptualized a picture of the normal, the Jesus that they portray, the one with the long brown hair and or blonde, depending on, maybe brown and blonde, depending on how much he would have been in the sun constantly, depending on which story you've read. Maybe not constantly, but a lot of the day he'd spend some time in the sun. So even if his hair was brown to begin with, it could have some blonde, right? Because what the sun will do to your hair if you're in it constantly. So Jesus, I can't remember what the fuck I'm talking about. I remember I'm mentioning Jesus, but I don't know why. Why the fuck am I talking about? My dad said he met him. And I always pictured the guy, right? The guy with the fucking long hair and the white robe or whatever, the fucking Middle Eastern desert robe. That's what I always pictured. I always pictured that he saw a version of that, like in Sandlot, when that guy that's like something like heroes never die, heroes never die, but legends live forever. Fuck, I forgot what he said, but that guy that visited the guy in Sandlot. It's such a bad description. That's like, I am like one of the fucking patrons in Kevin Smith's movie The Clerks. It's actually not called The Clerks. I think it's just called Clerks. But I am like one of the fucking patrons in the store that's trying to ask the fucking movie rental guy what fucking movie I want. Trying to describe it absolutely terribly. But I would see this like fucking, you know, picturesque Jesus or whatever, right? And so I always thought like, okay, you know, he was very serious about it. He's very serious about it. He thought he met Jesus this one night, and like I hadn't really gone back and forth with religion at the time. When I first heard him say that, all I was ever experienced was just Christianity, just the fucking who knows what it's called, Christianity. And then I was 13 years old, and I was sent away to a place in Utah, and I spent a period of time going to the Latter-day Saints Church. And then I came home, and I went to Latter-day Saints Church one time with a girl here locally that brought me. But my mind was on completely different things, like the fucking girl that I was with. Yeah, just, you know, because I was 13 years old, and I was probably fucking erect the entire time. You know what I mean? Like, trying to go through the goddamn Book of Mormon was probably... But anyway, then I take acid, right? Like, just so happens, and I've always thought back to this, and I'm almost certain... So I had these two guys that I worked with. I had these two guys that I worked with at a place that supplied nuts and bolts. That's the easiest way to describe it. They supplied all kinds of fasteners and all kinds of other construction supplies, but the ultimate deal was they would get in touch with construction sites as they were going, and they would supply material as you were going, fasteners mostly, so, you know, all kinds of fasteners, meaning like, you know, those anchors you put in the wall. You know what I mean? You need something to like concrete or even drywall in your home, but you put something in there that's like a hole, and then within that hole you put like a screw, and that's called like an anchor, for instance, or, you know, all kinds of shit. So I can't remember why the fuck I'm talking about some stupid job I had when I was in high school. This guy that I worked with at that fastener shop, another guy got me a job at that fastener shop, and that particular gentleman that got me a job at the fastener shop, he had tried, I realized 10, 15, however many years later that it took, that he basically tried to do interventions on me in really, really, really subtle ways. I'm super dumb, so such subtle ways that I didn't realize it until 10 to 15 years later in a lot of instances. But one of the things that one of the guys did there was sell me acid at an insanely cheap price. I mean, like, it was $6 a hit. So of course, I bought some, even though I had never done acid before. I'd never heard anything about acid before. I never knew anything about acid before. But I was just like, basically, if I can buy a bunch of acid to have with me, whether it sucks or it's good, I don't care. It's worth having with me. And years later, I wondered maybe this was almost another... I had an S word in my head that I wanted to use, and now I don't know what it is. So I was trying to really go for that avenue, but I don't remember what the fuck it was. But maybe this was another way for them to basically give me an intervention. Serve me an intervention, maybe? I don't know. Maybe if that was the S word. Without intervening maybe so deeply, because basically he just sold me acid at a price. It's like, you know, in Godfather when they say it was an offer I couldn't refuse, or, you know, I made an offer I couldn't. I'm not going to even try because it would be so bad, but the idea is he made him an offer he couldn't refuse, right? So I have this acid, and of course it changes. It changes the way you think about a lot of things. It was weird because at the time that I took it, I had no idea how to describe what I went through to people. I couldn't put into words what I thought, and I was young. I mean, I'm still, you know, I'm not going to do that, but you know what I mean? You could say I'm still young, and then my last name is Young, so I could make some stupid joke about young, forever young, that's what went through all my head, and I was like, I'm not going to say that, but now I don't remember what I was talking about, because that's why I didn't want to describe, that's why I didn't want to fucking justify what was going on through my head. I was like, I didn't want to describe what was going on through my head. I don't remember what the point was, but ultimately, eventually, I try acid, right? And it's one of those things that, like, I didn't know how to describe to people. That's actually what I was saying at the time. I didn't know how to describe to people, right? I was really young, and so the only thing that I had ever experienced that was such a great pleasure, so to speak, was well, it's what I said was coming, and so I was like, that's what I tell people. I was like, it's like coming, but for like 12 hours, and that was the only way I could think to describe it, because it was really the only very serious expression of pleasure that I could think of at that age. And I was probably like 15, 16, so too old to have that be my only honest expression of what I'm trying to say. But I'm like, it's like coming for 12 hours or whatever. And then eventually I do it some more. And I felt this one night, I was miserable on the outside. Everything that was going on around me was, so to speak, miserable. And I've told this story before, but ultimately I was on a patio and we were going to go smoke cocaine. And before we did, I was leaning up against a door, and somebody opened the door, and I fell over. But I thought that I fell off of the patio, and I thought that I fell off of this building. And I basically like had a near-death experience without having a near-death experience while also being on acid. So I just went inside and I laid down, because I almost didn't know what happened, but I was just so grateful to just be alive. But when I went and laid down, aside from needing to go shit a bunch of times, which, Jesus Christ, I have a story about today I could tell, but I'll get lost and I'll probably end up telling it later. But aside from needing to shit a number of times, I just laid on the ground with my eyes closed, and I tripped my brains off. And in that time, I felt a presence. I felt a presence, and with all certainty in my heart, at that time, I said, this is what my dad was talking about. I said, this is what he was talking about. At no period during that night or during that trip did I ever see the picturesque Jesus, so to speak. The picturesque one that's on all the fucking Spanish walls and in all the churches, and the one that you've seen. I didn't see anything like that. It was a feeling that I had while I was under the influence of this LSD. Not the first time, another time way later, another time that I did acid much differently. But that was the first time that I did it. And I felt what he was talking about. And I was certain. I said, this is it. This is what he was talking about. All my life, I pictured him with this fucking blurry, cloudy version of the picturesque Jesus talking. And then when I tripped, I said, this is what the fuck he's talking about. But other than that, my fucking throat sounds like Pop Rocks. Like, one, I can hear, I think it's a fridge nearby, which is goddamn crazy. When I worked at hotels, people would complain about that, especially in extended stay hotels. You have very large fridges, and people would complain about the motor, and it's like, yeah, it makes fucking noise. But when one of these excellent mics, they pick up a lot, and I can hear in my. The nice thing is, oftentimes when I'm editing these, I can't hear on the fucking, like the tablet or the computer when I'm reviewing the footage, but on these headphones, I could hear it right now. I could hear the fridge. So hopefully you can't hear the fridge, but I heard fucking my throat was like Pop Rocks just now. It was like fucking doing its own Pop Rocks deal. But I felt what he was talking about, but it wasn't anything like all the things that have been portrayed or that we've been pictured or we've been showed. And I'll be right back. I'm back. If you watch this podcast, you know that I have a fucking camera that shorts out every so often, and so I knew it was about to do it, so I just fucking said I was going to go, and then I ate some cheese, which is constant, because my son has always had snack cheese, and I feel like it's not a terrible snack, right? So then I always end up eating it, because, I don't know. But anyway, it seems like while I was eating cheese, I came up with the analogy that it's almost like a company that had standard operating procedures, and they passed out those standard operating procedures to make their company run successfully for the time that it was in business. But now it's out of business. So the things that applied for their standard operating procedures at that corporation at that time are no longer applicable. And that's kind of the analogy that I came up with. I came up with another one that I can't think of now. I came up with something else that I was thinking of while I was eating cheese, but I'm a fucking idiot. I don't mean to talk shit about myself. There's people that say, like, you know what? I'm actually even trying, in my own head, even more often in my own head, I'm trying to not say shit like that. It's really hard. It's really terribly fucking hard to not constantly say bad stuff. There's this video that I saw on Your Mom's House podcast, so on Tom Segura and Christina Pazitsky's podcast, where they fucking said, there was like some Indian guy, and he's like, yes, I am piece of shit. Yes, I am loser. Like, I hear that in my head all the time. For me to fucking fight back and combat against that just clip of me saying that to myself in my head is a feat in itself in a day. And it happens constantly. It happens over and over again. But I don't know, man. I just think that it was one of those things that was applicable at a certain time, and it just seems like it's grown. It seems like we've grown out of it, maybe. And I don't mean that in the way that there's some things that you look at and you go, wow, that's timeless. You look at it and you go, there are dumb things that I think of from the Bible that I've read a long time ago. There's times when my fucking neighbor's outside making noise, and like, truthfully, I know that one, there's a relation that I have in the sense that here I am making a video that I'm going to put on the internet in hopes that I'll get attention from people. There's that one connection that I know that he's making noise out there early in the morning because I think down in his heart he wants fucking attention like we all do, which bugs the shit out of me. But then two, I have that Bible verse that plays in the back of my head that says, like, you should never greet your neighbor loudly or early in the morning, and it's like a dumb thing. It's a weird thing, but then you think about it and it's like, there's something to that. It's like, there's a time in the day when it's appropriate. It's like, great, dude, you're up. We're all up. I'm up. That's why I know. You're out there making noise, but it's not appropriate. You shouldn't be out there making noise at this time. So I don't know. I heard Tim Kennedy a couple weeks ago, and it was like such a fucking breakthrough moment for me. He mentioned that when he got sick, when he got COVID, actually, and I try to never say that fucking word on my podcast, but when he got that, he had been up for 2 days, and I was like, I knew it. I fucking knew it. I was like, I knew, because constantly, I'm trying to follow this fucking, like, get as much sleep, get as much recovery as I can, take care of my body, give myself the opportunity to fucking regain the strength that I lost, or whatever it is, whatever sleep does, whatever, all the amazing fucking things that sleep does. I'm constantly trying to follow that. And then I hear him say that, and I'm like, I knew it. I knew there's successful people out there that on occasion, at least, have to just fucking forego sleep on some basis, on some time, because it's like, there's no goddamn way. There's no way you can do your lawn and you can do your house. And by do, I mean keep your lawn manicured. I mean keep your lawn watered. I mean, especially if you have You know what I mean? It's like any amount of square footage, and I have 0 square footage. I have almost no square footage. But in order to just keep my house clean and tidy, to keep my lawn manicured and watered, to keep my clothes cleaned, folded, and put away, to keep my home, the dishes clean, fucking dry, put away, to keep my son, to keep him fed, to keep him happy, to keep, to treat him on occasion, to fucking spend time with him like I should, like the only thing that on my deathbed I'm going to give a fuck about. The only thing that I'm going to care about when I die is whether or not I made a relationship with my family, with my son, if I taught him the things that I have fucked up on, the things that I have gained, the knowledge that I have gathered, the wisdom that has become upon me, that has been bestowed upon me, whatever the fuck, the things that I've learned. I only hope to share that with him, and to share as much possible time with him, and to share as much possible love, and to share everything that I have with him. I know that is the most important thing, and sadly I'm getting teary-eyed, which is, I'm not trying to be a bitch, but I know that that's the only thing that's going to matter ultimately. I know when it's all said and done that that's going to be what was really important, and so I try to maximize that. And now I can't remember why the fuck I'm talking about that. I know I was talking about religion, and yeah, fuck. It's funny when I edit and I'm looking at this, I'm like, dude, you were talking about this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, dude, just, you know what I mean? Like, you could pick up right here. You got it. Just, it's really easy. You were talking about something, like, this is what you're talking about. Just go ahead. It's really, and then when I'm in the moment, it's like, it's not even there. It's not even with me. You know what I mean? Like, I go somewhere completely different. I'm like, and what took my attention off? I literally have no idea what I was saying. I have no idea what I was mentioning. I know, like I said, the only basis I have is that originally I was talking about religion. And yeah, I went through the my dad, he thought he saw Jesus, and I was like, that's not the, then I thought, conceptualized what I thought Jesus was, and that was not what happened to me. I just felt a presence. I felt like, oh, this is what the fuck they're talking about. This is the divine presence. But it was nothing. It was nothing like any of the words that I've heard to describe religion. It was nothing like any of the pictures or images I've seen to depict religion or anything like that. It was nothing like that. One of the biggest things that I remember the same night when I really tripped my brains off is just, I remember thinking, I've focused so much of my life on following a high, on looking to be high. As I mentioned right before it happened, I was like waiting to go smoke cocaine, and I knew that everything I'd been looking for, everything I'd been searching for on so many hours, so many days, was just getting high. And I remember just thinking, like, I of the people that had focused on things that were good, on being good. And I know being good sounds dumb unless you're like a dog or a child, or, because it's like being obedient, right? But that's not it. It was like being good towards everything, being good towards the world, being good towards yourself, being good towards your family, being good towards your neighbors, being good towards the earth, being good towards, everything. Just being towards your life, towards your surroundings, towards your body, towards everything. It was just a focus, and I couldn't help but think about good. Just be good. And again, not good like obedient, but good like good in all the ways that I wasn't. And people have probably said this before, and I've probably even said it before, but there's this amazing thing that happens, like when you're on acid and you're looking in the mirror, and you see something that you've never seen before. It's so weird. It must be your ego. It must be your ego that gives you an image of what you're supposed to look like or what you want to look like when you look in the mirror. And so you see something every time you look in the mirror that you don't even realize is not actually you. It's not that you're portraying to the rest of the world. It's the you that you think you are. Whether or not that even exists, whether, depending on whatever. But the thing that other people in their consciousness experience when they see and speak with what you consider as you is a totally different image when you're on acid. It's almost I've even heard people say, and I've experienced it myself, where you don't want to go to the mirror. You don't want to see it. I've probably said it before, but I remember one of the times that I had been, I was so skinny. I was just so skinny. My cheeks had been like sunken in at the time. I was so thin, and I'd been so fat. I'd been so fat for so many years, for my whole life. My son's 8 years old. From the time I was my son's age, I was very fat. I struggled with bulimia for years. As I was growing up, I would eat so much food and just throw up, and I was fat for so long. And then I saw myself, and I was scary thin. I was thin in a way that you shouldn't be thin, especially for somebody that has access to food and nourishment. And you don't see that stuff. You don't see that stuff when you're any day, oddly. It's weird. Like I said, I think something protects you. I think it's your ego, but something when you look in the mirror causes you to see what you want to see, even though it's not there. It's not what other people are seeing. Like right now, my eyes are red and full of water, and but I hear so many people say, like, they either are one thing or another, right? Like you either believe or you don't. You have some sort of religion that you follow, and you maintain what's the word, dogma. You maintain the laws. You maintain the stories and the rules and the practices, and or you consider yourself, like atheist. And it's weird you almost don't want to put yourself in that, like, atheist, I almost want to put my fingers up. I almost want to put up the fucking quotation marks, air quotes. You almost don't want to put yourself in that category of either one or the other. And then you hear people say, like, they just don't know. And I mean, that's the truth. The truth is none of us know. The truth is none of us know what's going to happen, unless you maybe died and came back, and then in some way or another, couldn't your body, again, just in the same way it protects you when you're looking in the mirror, couldn't it be protecting you in some way from what you were experiencing, which is near death? If you feel like you went and came back, or whatever it is, whether it released some chemicals that maybe you do experience when you die, or it just released chemicals to provide some sort of euphoric experience while you were experiencing something that otherwise would have, been traumatic. And so, yeah, you hear a lot of labeling one way or the other. You hear a lot of people that have, adopted some sort of background for themselves. And the truth is, I don't know. It seems silly. The idea seems silly. The idea that there is some place that I go and I burn for eternity if I don't do all of the right things. Fuck, man. Some of the most religious people I know are what you would consider not good people, right? The outward expression that they leave to the world, the way they act in public, the way they interact with other humans. I mean, then you know, it's like, then who gets to judge you, right? And that's where they say, you know, the creator, the maker, God, that's who gets to judge you, you know? It's like, I don't know. None of us know. But I don't think there's a place like that. I don't think that's it, man. I don't think, you know, what I've multiple times came to is, I think this is it. And I know I've said before that, like, personally, I feel like all we ever have is consciousness. And it almost seems like that is the way to dumb it down. That is the way to make it as basic as it can possibly be. Is you will always have this until you don't, and then so it will change, right? And so it's like that seems like an answer that can't not be true to me. You'll always have consciousness until you don't, and then maybe, you know, it's something else, right? So I had so many things. It's funny, my son, when I was eating the cheese in the break, dude, it's like fucking the middle of the night on a goddamn weekend. The effect of inflation and rising gas prices and everything that we're all experiencing has been shitty, man. It's been really shitty. It's been shitty to fucking, you know, it's tough to keep hope in and I'm not trying to be a fatalistic or fucking negative bitch, and I know I really sound like it now, but money just continues to go less and less far, or less, you know, it continues to get you less and less, and wages and earnings do not simultaneously increase as the cost for absolutely everything that we do. And it's like, even these things that you can consider like side hustles, like I do, like say DoorDash, if I was to, you know what I mean? It's like, if I did it every day, it's like my gas prices a month would be like $900. You know what I mean? Like it's insane. You know what I mean? Like, obviously I don't do it. I'd love to. You know, if things were good, I think you could make over like 70 grand a year if you did it like every, you know what I mean? But that's the thing. It's like, it's very inconsistent. But yeah, it's like on the good days, if you did it every day, you could make not bad money, you know? Which is like, then you think back to jobs that you had where you like were on salary and you worked way over 8 hours a day and you were like on call on weekends and shit. And you're like, fuck, how many hours did I work a week? Who knows? Maybe a lot. And then it's like, what's your sanity worth on Saturday mornings? On any day that you anticipated to be your time off, where you get a break from your grind, where you get a break from dealing with all the bullshit that you have to deal with to have a house and have a car and have insurance and have food in the fridge and all the things that you have to do just to maintain that. When you get a break and then your work or your income calls you as you're in the middle of that, or in the middle of something that you maybe looked forward to, it's like, that's there's some sort of price that could be put on not being able to fully enjoy that without the anticipation of having to answer a call where you may have to put out a fire that you didn't necessarily plan for or want to deal with. One thing that it's so weird. I constantly replay, not constantly enough, unfortunately, so it wouldn't be constantly. There's something I occasionally replay in my head that I wish I remembered more often. But Sam Harris at one point said, "In my fucking waking up app is gonna expire soon. My yearly fucking subscription. I'm gonna have to renew it, but I will." They've offered the lively renewal, and I can't do that yet, but I would love to. But I'm definitely gonna do it again. But it's so weird. There's one thing that he said. He said, "Did you really think that the last problem that you had would be the last problem that you ever had?" And it's like I operate under the assumption that yes, and all the time. Even I'm talking about it now, tonight, tomorrow, in my future, I will encounter a problem in my. If my camera fucked up, I would get mad. I would get upset. I would be upset that the equipment malfunctioned. It was not operating the way that I wanted it to. And yet, it's like I operate under this assumption that the last problem that I had is the last problem I'm ever going to have. And it's so dumb. It's like, another thing I think that he mentions is like you should assume it's going to be more like a video game, where if you played the video game and there was no challenges that you had to overcome, you may get pretty bored of that video game fairly quickly. You expect that there's going to be a number of challenges that are thrown at you in any order that you're going to have to overcome. You expect that when you play a video game. And he's like, you should almost treat your life more like that. And it's like, it's so weird how I can know that, I can hear that, I can recite that, but deep down, I don't operate as if that's the assumption. I will encounter a problem and be like, yeah. Sometimes it feels dumb to go into the things that I wanted to talk about when, you know what I mean? It's like you could literally wax or wane or use some other fucking descriptive word typed into fucking thesaurusdictionary.com, thesaurus subsection, and then whatever the fuck it says about discuss. You could discuss religion for hours, forever. You could have a whole podcast, you could have a whole documentary, you could have a whole miniseries, you could have a whole movie, you could have a whole anything to discuss religion at such. And then so like sometimes I look back and I'm like, well, you didn't really give it the fucking, what do they say, give the devil his due? Does that apply? It seems like it'd be cool if it was applicable. It seems like it'd be cool if give the devil his due was applicable in this situation, since we're talking about religion. And I really wish I could remember what else other analogy I came up with aside from the fucking company that is operating the world under their unused and expired operating procedure. But our beautiful friend, the camera, will any minute turn off automatically because it's so amazing. We're so blessed that this camera, I constantly tell myself, you know what it is? I use my phone for notes. But oh, look, that's my son. He's so cute. He's the best. That's him at a park in Florida. It's the best. Those covered parks. Dude, those fucking covered parks are the shit. That was the first place I'd ever seen one, and now I've seen so many in Colorado. It's so cool because it's like crazy how much they had to build all these extra poles. They make these extra canopies that can handle the weather and withstand the UV rays. And it's like it protects your kids from like being beaten down in the sun all day. But they're fucking gigantic because they cover the whole park. It's so cool. Those are the best. I really like that. I don't take my son to enough parks. I heard Christina Pazitsky say you got to just get a brewski and go out there. And honestly, when I was alcoholic, that was what I did. I did have a beer at the park. And I couldn't believe to hear her say that, but she's a comedian, so it very well could have been a joke. Probably was, for all I know. And again, I haven't done it because, like, for me, it reminds me of being an alcoholic. And you know what I mean? Like I would like, we would get there, and right before we would go out, I would slam a beer real quick. My son was so young, he would never, I bet he doesn't even know the story. You know what I mean? It was no big deal. And we'd be there for hours, and I'm very antisocial. So I would like make us show up at like 7 a.m. I'd make us show up like when there was nobody else in the parking lot. Like we're the only other car at the park. And he can just run all over the place. And thank God Google fucking Pictures keeps that shit forever on the Android phones that I was using at the time. But anyway, I should be using my fucking iPhone, I imagine. I imagine that my iPhone is better than this fucking home camcorder shit. I guess, I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't want to see it. You wouldn't want to see my scariness. Okay, but before the fucking camera fucks up, be right back. I'm back. Like I mentioned, I had a bunch of things I wanted to discuss, and I didn't discuss any of them. I ranted and raved about religion for the whole time so far. So, rather than discussing anything that I intended to, the one other thing that I know that I mentioned, that I just remembered, is, dude, so I've heard Whitney Cummings, right? She came out with that June Shine flavor that was new. And it was a hard kombucha. It was a hard kombucha that was new, and it was her flavor. And I seen it on Instagram when she was promoting that event and promoting her new flavor, and I've seen it on all of her podcasts where they've drank it. I shouldn't say all of them because there's been a number of them that I've missed recently because, as I mentioned in the podcast, I've been so goddamn busy. It's tough to keep up on all the things that even you enjoy. But she was talking about this hard kombucha, and she always describes it like, you enjoy it, but you take the shit of your life in the morning. And that's really all I ever knew about it. So I go to look for it at the liquor store, and I was actually looking for like a 4-pack, but they actually had only one. They were selling them by the either $4.99 or $5.99. The one I chose was $5.99 for one fucking can. So it was like, good thing I'm not a fucking alcoholic and drinking a shitload anymore. But the way she described it is, you take the shit of your life the next day. I cracked the can. Excuse me. Sorry. I cracked the can, and immediately I had gas. Immediately my stomach was like going crazy, bubbling. And I then proceeded to shit 3 times. Before I was finished with it, I shit twice. And after I finished with the can, I shit again. So something about my stomach when introduced to these probiotics was like, we need to shit immediately. Like we will immediately go. I'd like to think that my metabolism is in good shape, and that means good things. But honestly, I didn't know much about it, is what I was trying to say. It's like all I'd ever seen is all the promotion about it. It's alcohol. It's organic. All of it is like shit that's good for you. Like everything that's in it is like shit that is not bad for you, which is fucking amazing. Like I mean, I guess what I should say is all the stuff that they promote on the can and the label is things that you would not be upset to put in your body. And then there's no negative, you know what I mean? It's like, my thought is there's probably ingredients that they're not promoting that aren't the best, but, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, aside from the fact that, like I said, if you bought 4 of them, it'd be $25 a pack, or $20 a pack, which is kind of a lot for alcohol, unless you're at a bar, which you didn't expect to pay much more than that. But, yeah. Kombucha, dude. Hard kombucha. Fucking badass. Never tried kombucha in my life. Never tried hard kombucha ever. Was psyched to see the liquor store that I went to had it, and they only had like two. They had two June Shines. The one that I tried, it was like Midnight Painkiller was the brand that I tried. It was fine. It was great. Texture in my mouth of champagne, smell of like wine. It says beer on the label. When it says beer on the bottom, and it doesn't remind me of beer at all. I mean, it's like I said, it's carbonated. I didn't say it was carbonated. I said the texture reminded me of champagne, which in my head says that it's carbonated, but it was carbonated. Had that like sparkly feeling. This is sparkly apparently to me. I had that sparkly feeling, and yeah, it reminded me of champagne, but that's the only thing that I can think of. But it was fucking delicious, dude. I mean, I really liked it. The lack of guilt that you have, but it being my fear was like if I had this like with a girl and I had to shit 3 times, like I had 1 can and I had to shit 3 times. That would not be a good, like, say, drink with somebody you were interested or attracted in ever. And then it wouldn't be something I would want to drink out in public in a bar, because I hate shitting in public. Dude, I had to. One nice thing is like my son, he mentioned how hot he is during the break. And I was like, I've been trying to take colder showers lately. I can't handle 0 heat. I cannot yet do with 0 hot water. There's a point when I add it when I'm like, this is the hottest water I've ever tried in my life. But there's another point where you just have like a tiny bit and you're like, okay, this is just enough to cool the pain, but you're still having like the scared breaths. You're still having like the freak out breaths where like it's cold enough where you're like, which is cool. But aside from that, like it's just the head can only be in one place. You know what I mean? It's like it can. So your whole body is never really ever fully submerged in the cold. So it's like even though it's making you react, the rest of your body is still so warm. And then, like I said, it's not fully cold, but I've been trying to do like cold showers, and I had like 3. Obviously, every time I shit, I shouldn't say obviously, but when I shit, I take a shower. I didn't redo my hair every time because I was just like, I can't possibly, man. It's too much. It's too much blow dry. It's too much gel. It's too much fucking comb. It's too much time. I'm not gonna do it. That's crazy. And I mean, like I was literally just trying to do this. I was just trying to record. But other than that, kombucha, pretty awesome. Pretty enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I read. I enjoyed the lack of guilt. I enjoyed the flavor and the texture, though my body was a much quicker reaction, and it was much more voluminous. Voluminous? I don't know what the actual word is, but, like I said, Whitney, as she was promoting her new June Shine flavor, mentioned that it'll make you take the shit of your life the next day. I took 3 shits damn near immediately. Yeah, so I guess it just depends on your body. But anyway, yeah, I'll probably mention it a million more times. This will probably not be the last time I talk about religion. It'll probably not be the last time that I mention it. I'm forever going to be confused about it. I know I'm skeptical and don't trust almost any of it. And I guess that's pretty much it for now. It's funny. I was gonna say I will in the past say like hit me up in the comments, make comments, and then you see like when people get really big, they get all like scared because I guess like people start imitating them in the comments and stuff. So I realized it's not as good of an idea because I guess when you're actually successful, it goes awry. And so I won't probably do that. But I would love if you rate, review, and subscribe. And I appreciate you tuning in, as always. And I love you for that. And I love you for being here. And I look forward to chatting with you again. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.